Hello and welcome to the tutorial for Hollow the Romancer. We're going to begin by crocheting the hood, so grab your purple yarn and your hook and let's get started. The first round has already been made for you, so gently pull it out from the center and let's take a closer look at everything. Arrange it so that this loop is on the right hand side. This is where we're going to insert our hook. We want to tighten it so it fits nicely around our hook, not too loose, not too tight. If you're confused about how to hold your yarn, you can wrap it around your pointer finger a couple times, or my favorite way is to bring it up between my pointer and middle fingers, then gently hold the loose yarn against my palm with my ring and pinky fingers. The main thing is that you feel comfortable, so don't overthink it too much. Now let's look at this first round and figure out what everything is. The first round is made out of 6 single crochets, which we'll call stitches, and the top of them are these little V's. Starting from where our hook is, that's 6, 5, 4, and this stitch marker is the third. This is the second, and this is the first single crochet. So our first round is basically done. To finish every round, we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch of the round and make a slip stitch. So remove the stitch marker from the first one. Then insert your hook under both of these loops of the stitch. And when you're ready, you're going to yarn over, which means to place the yarn on top of the hook, then pull it back through the stitch. And you should now have 2 loops on your hook. To finish making the slip stitch, all you need to do is pull the first loop through the second loop on your hook. And that's our slip stitch done. Now we're going to chain 1 to get ready for the next round. To make a chain, you need to yarn over and then pull it through the loop on your hook. And that's it. And now we're ready to begin round 2. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around. Increasing means making 2 single crochets in the same stitch. We're going to make the first increase in the stitch we just made a slip stitch into. So insert your hook into the same spot. Then yarn over and pull it back through the stitch. You should now have 2 loops on your hook. To finish the single crochet, yarn over again and pull it through both loops on your hook. That's our first single crochet. To help you keep track of the beginning, grab your stitch marker and insert it into the single crochet that we just made. Just insert it under both loops of the little V. And now we need to make 1 more single crochet in the same stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over, and pull the loop back through the stitch. Yarn over, and pull through both loops. And now we've made the first increase. We're going to repeat that 5 more times now, making an increase into every stitch. So when you're ready, remove the stitch marker from the next one and make 2 single crochets in it. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, and pull through both loops. A little tip is to let your hook do all of the work for you. When you've made your single crochet, avoid pulling or tugging the working yarn. This is going to make the stitch really tight and it'll be harder to insert your hook into it later. And now make another single crochet in this stitch. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, and pull through both loops. Just let the hook do all of the work for you. Continue making an increase in every stitch and I'll meet you at the end. I'm going to speed this up, but you can adjust the speed in the settings below to slow it down if you need to. I just finished making my last increase. You should have made 12 single crochets. So quickly count and make sure that you didn't miss any or make any extra. If you have extra, then you may have worked into the slip stitch, which we don't want to do. We're always going to ignore the slip stitch in chain 1. We'll only be working into the single crochets. Once you're done, we're going to finish the round with a slip stitch and chain 1. So remove the stitch marker from the first single crochet. Then insert your hook into that stitch and make a slip stitch. Yarn over and pull it through. then pull it through the loop on your hook. And now chain 1, yarn over and pull it through the loop on your hook. Great job, everyone. Now it's time for round 3. For this round, we're going to single crochet in the first one, increase in the next, then single crochet, then increase, repeated over and over until we reach the end. So let's go ahead and insert our hook into the first stitch where we work the slip stitch and make a single crochet. Don't forget to place your stitch marker in there so we don't lose track of the beginning. And now we're going to increase in the next stitch. So make the first single crochet, and then insert your hook in there again and make the second single crochet. Now make 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and again increase in the next. I'm going to speed it up now, but feel free to slow it down if you need to, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. So I'm working into the final stitch now, which is going to be an increase. And as always, we're going to ignore the slip stitch and chain 1. Once you're done, do a quick little count of your round to make sure you have 18 single crochets. And we're going to remove the stitch marker from the first one and make a slip stitch in it. And then chain 1 to get ready for the next round. Round 4. For this round, we're going to make 1 single crochet in the first and second stitches, and then an increase. Then we'll repeat that 5 more times. Single crochet, increase, over and over again. So let's make our first single crochet. And don't forget to pop the stitch marker in there. And now we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And now we're going to increase in the next stitch. And now we're going to do 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Now we'll do another increase. Now continue like that until you reach the end of the round, where you'll end with an increase in the very last stitch. I had some technical difficulties while making this round, and so I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. You should have made 24 stitches in this round, and as always, I'm going to remove the stitch marker, slip stitch to the first, then chain 1. Now it's time for round 5. For this round, we're going to single crochet, increase. Single crochet, then a triple increase, which is 3 single crochets all into the same stitch. So let's insert the hook into the very first stitch and make a single crochet. Don't forget your stitch marker. Now make 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And again, make 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Great job. Now we're going to make an increase. Awesome. Now make one single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches again. Perfect. Now we're going to make our triple increase. So let's make the first single crochet. Now the second one. And make the last one. Great job, everyone. Now we're going to single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, increase. So let's do that. There's our 3 single crochets. Now let's increase. Then do that again. Single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, increase. One, two, three, and increase again. Now we're going to make one single crochet in the next 3 stitches, then another triple increase. So single crochet in the next stitch, single crochet in the next one, and one more single crochet in the next. Now we're going to make another triple increase. So let's make the first one, then the second, and then reinsert your hook in there and make the last one. Now we're going to make one single crochet in the next 3 stitches before ending with an increase in the last stitch. Awesome. So you should have made 30 single crochets this round. When you're done, go ahead and slip stitch to the first stitch and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. Now for rounds 6 and 7, so 2 rounds total, all we're going to do is make one single crochet in every stitch around. So I'll get this round started with you and then I'll meet you at the end. Alrighty, easy peasy, right? Keep going and I'll meet you at the end. Here's what round 6 looks like at the end. You should still have 30 single crochets. And now repeat that one more time, making one single crochet in every stitch around. Here's round 7. Super cute. Great job, everyone. Let's get started on round 8. For this round, we're going to single crochet in the first stitch. So let's go ahead and do that. Don't forget to put your stitch marker back in there. And now we're going to single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, then decrease. So let's make our next 3 single crochets and then we'll learn how to decrease. Alrighty, so decreasing means turning 2 stitches into 1. To decrease, we're going to insert our hook under the front loop of the first stitch, so just the loop that's closer to you, not under both loops, and then insert it under the front loop of the second stitch. Great job, everyone. Now yarn over and bring it back through. Then yarn over again and pull it through both loops on your hook, just like a normal single crochet. Not too bad, right? We're going to do that 5 more times. 3 single crochets, then a decrease. But let's do that one more time together. Make 3 single crochets. Perfect, and now we need to decrease again. So insert your hook under the first front loop. Then insert your hook into the second front loop. Yarn over and pull it through. Yarn over and pull through both loops. Now 4 more times. You're going to make another 3 single crochets and decrease. Then I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. Great job, everyone. Now make 1 single crochet in the very last stitch. Make sure that you have 26 stitches, and then you can slip stitch to the first one and chain 1. Round 9, last round. For this round, we're going to be working in the front loop only, making single crochets into every one. So insert your hook under the front loop of the first stitch and make a single crochet. You might have to kind of wiggle your hook in there or use your finger to help you. Perfect. Don't forget your stitch marker. Then do that again in the next stitch. Just under the front loop, make a single crochet. I'll do a couple more with you, and then I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. So you should still have 26 stitches at the end of this round. When you're all done, then as always, go ahead and slip stitch to the first one and chain 1. And now we'll cut the yarn. You don't need a super long tail, just long enough to weave it in and hide it. And now you can use your hook to pull the tail through the chain 1 and give it a tug to tighten and secure it. Great job, everyone. Now you can set this to the side and we'll get ready for the next part. Now we're going to make the body since we already have the purple yarn out. So let's get started. We need to start by making a magic ring. I'm going to show you my favorite way to make one, but if you're an advanced crocheter, then feel free to make it the traditional way. Take the yarn with your right hand and you want to bring it up between your pointer and middle fingers of your left hand. And then use your ring and pinky fingers to hold the working yarn against your palm. Now pinch the tail of the yarn with your middle finger and thumb. Right now, it should kind of feel like you're going to snap your fingers with your pointer finger sticking up. Now, take the tail and make a loop that goes under the point that you're pinching and re-pinch it. Just like that. And this is our magic ring. Now, take your hook and insert it into the ring with your hook facing down. Your middle finger should also naturally come into the center of it to help you with tension. Hook facing down, grab the yarn and bring it through the ring, then twist the hook towards you and up and chain one. Great job. Now we're going to make 6 single crochets into the ring. And don't forget your stitch marker. Once you've made 6 single crochets, then you can pull the tail to close the ring. And as always, to finish a round, we need to slip stitch to the first one and chain one. Rounds 2 to 4 are going to be just like the hood. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch. So insert your hook in the very first and make the first single crochet. Don't forget your stitch marker. Then reinsert your hook and make the second single crochet. Great job. Now increase in the next stitch. Perfect. Repeat that 4 more times and I'll meet you at the end. Great job, everyone. You should now have 12 stitches and finish the round with a slip stitch to the first and chain one. Round 3, we're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase all the way around. So insert your hook into the very first stitch and make a single crochet. Put your stitch marker in it. Now we're going to increase in the next one. 1 and 2. And now make 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Perfect, and now increase in the next. Repeat that 4 more times, ending with an increase in the very last stitch, joining to the first with a slip stitch and chaining 1, and I'll meet you there. Perfect, you should have made 18 stitches, so do a quick count and then we'll start the next round. For round 4, we're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. I'll get it started with you before meeting you for the next round, so let's make our first single crochet. And 1 single crochet in the next one. And now let's increase. And repeat 1 single crochet. And 1 single crochet. And then an increase in the next. Now repeat that 4 more times, ending with an increase in the last one, then slip stitch to the first and chain 1. Here's the end of round 4. You should now have 24 stitches. For rounds 5, 6, 7, and 8, so 4 rounds total, all we're doing is working 1 single crochet into every stitch around. I'll get this one started with you, and then I'll show you how each round looks at the end. Let's make our first single crochet. Pop your stitch marker in there and continue working a single crochet in every stitch, and I'll see you at the end. Here's how round 5 looks. Here's round 6. Round 7, so close. And the final one, round 8. Now for round 9, we're going to be working into the front loops only again, but this time we'll be making a slip stitch into every stitch around. So insert your hook into the front loop of the first stitch and make a slip stitch. It's easy to make them super tight, so try to keep that in mind and keep your tension loose. Keep your hands nice and relaxed and let your hook do all of the work for you. Perfect. Now place the stitch marker in the slip stitch that you just made. Then grab another stitch marker and place it in the back loop, the loop that we didn't insert our hook into. We're going to need to find it later, and it can be a little tricky if we don't mark it now. Once you've done that, continue making a slip stitch in every front loop around, and I'll meet you at the end. Awesome, so I'm making my last slip stitch now, but before we finish this round, grab your third stitch marker and place it in the back loop of this last stitch. And this is just going to make it easier for you to find it later. Once you've done that, then you can go ahead and slip stitch to the first one and chain 1. And now we're going to cut the yarn. You don't need a long tail. We're going to hide this in the body later, so just cut it about 1 inch long or so, then pull it through the chain and give it a tug to fully secure it. Round 10, we're going to reattach the yarn to the back loop where we placed the first stitch marker, but we need to make a slip knot first. To make a slip knot, wrap the yarn around your finger and make a loop, then slide it off your finger. Take the tail of the yarn and put it behind the loop, kind of like it's splitting it in half. Then grab the tail and pull it through the loop, holding on to both sides of the yarn to help tighten it. Now insert your hook and pull the yarn again to fit comfortably around your hook. Not too loose, not too tight. Now we're going to insert it into the first back loop. So remove the stitch marker before or after you insert the hook, whichever is easier for you. Then yarn over and pull it through. Then pull it through the loop on your hook. And now we've attached with the slip stitch, and we need to chain 1 to get ready for the round. For this round, we're going to single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, all the way around in the back loops only. So let's make our first 2 single crochets. And now we need to decrease. We're going to make our decreases differently from how we did them in the hood. Insert your hook into the first back loop, then yarn over and pull it through. Now insert your hook into the second back loop and yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Now just pull the first loop through the last 2. So a little different, but just as easy. Now let's make a single crochet into each of the next 2 back loops. Perfect, and now we need to decrease again. Insert your hook into the first one, yarn over and pull through. Insert your hook into the second one, and yarn over and pull through. Perfect. Now pull it through both loops. Easy peasy. Continue like that all the way around. I'm going to speed it up now, but feel free to slow it down if you need to, and I'll meet you at the end. Great job! You should have made 18 single crochets in this round. And as always, end the round with a slip stitch and chain 1. Now we want to stuff the body. So grab your stitch marker and put it on the loop that your hook is in. We're doing this so that the project can't accidentally unravel. Now grab your stuffing and just stuff the body. I like to start at the bottom, and then I try to kind of line the walls of the project before putting the stuffing in the middle. You want it to be firmly filled while still remaining nice and squishy. We'll need some more stuffing for the head as well, so don't use all of it. Plus, if you overstuff a project, it can kind of stretch the stitches out and make the stuffing a little visible. Check it every once in a while and make sure that there aren't any obviously empty or deflated spots. Once you're happy with yours, do a little squeeze test to make sure it's keeping its shape, and then we'll move on to the next round. Great job, everyone. Now you can put your hook back into the loop and remove the stitch marker. And now it's time for round 11. This time we're going to single crochet, then decrease. Single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease. Easy peasy. So insert your hook into the first stitch and make a single crochet. And now we need to decrease. We're going to do it the way that we did it for the hood. Insert your hook under the front loop of the first one, then under the front loop of the second one. Now yarn over and pull it back through. Then yarn over again and pull through both loops. Now we need to make a single crochet in the next one. And now another decrease. Perfect. Repeat that 4 more times and I'll meet you at the end. So you should now have 12 single crochets, and as always, you need to slip stitch to the first and chain 1. For round 12, we're going to make 6 decreases. We're going to decrease all the way around. So insert your hook into the first front loop. It can sometimes be hard to get under just the first one, so feel free to use your finger to help you out, wiggle and shimmy it in there. Once you're ready, then insert your hook into the next front loop. Then yarn over and pull it back through. Yarn over again and pull through both loops. And that's all we're doing. So I'll speed this up now, but slow it down in the settings below if you need to, and I'll meet you at the end. Once you've made 6 decreases, then you can slip stitch to the first one and chain 1. And now we'll cut the yarn. Cut a nice long tail that we're going to use to close up this hole. And then use your hook to pull the yarn up and through the chain 1, then pull it tight to fully secure it. Now you need to grab your needle and insert the end of the yarn through it. I like to place it against the bottom and use my finger to kind of rub it through. Now, in order to close this circle, all we're doing is inserting the needle into every front loop. So find the first front loop and insert your needle going from the outside to the inside or away from you. Perfect. Now insert into the second front loop. Easy peasy. Keep going until you've inserted into all 6 front loops. Once you're done, just pull the yarn and the hole is going to magically shrink. I love that. That's one of my favorite things to do. Now insert your needle into a nearby stitch and bring it back out through another part of the body. It can be the top, side, bottom, it really doesn't matter. You just want it to go through some fluff, which is going to help secure it. Do that a few more times, inserting your needle into the same space it came out of and bringing it out through an opposite side. Great job. Once you've done it a few times, then you can cut the excess and use your hook or needle to bring it back into the project and hide it away. Awesome, and now let's hide this other end. We're going to insert our needle into the stitch right above it and bring it out through a random part of the body. If you have an end still showing, then trim the excess and use your hook or needle to tuck it away inside. Perfect job, everyone. This is a great stopping point to rest your hands, or you can jump right into the next part. We're going to make his cool skull head now, so grab your natural colored yarn and let's get started. We need to start by making a magic ring. I'm going to show you my favorite way to make one, but if you're an advanced crocheter, then feel free to make it the traditional way. Take the yarn with your right hand and you want to bring it up between your pointer and middle fingers of your left hand. And then use your ring and pinky fingers to hold the working yarn against your palm. Now pinch the tail of the yarn with your middle finger and thumb. Right now, it should kind of feel like you're going to snap your fingers with your pointer finger sticking up. Now take the tail and make a loop that goes under the point that you're pinching and re-pinch it. Just like that. And this is our magic ring. Now take your hook and insert it into the ring with your hook facing down. Your middle finger should also naturally come into the center of it to help you with tension. Hook facing down, grab the yarn and bring it through the ring, then twist the hook towards you and up and chain one. Great job. Now we're going to make 6 single crochets into the ring. And don't forget your stitch marker. Once you've made 6 single crochets, then you can pull the tail to close the ring. And as always, to finish a round, we need to slip stitch to the first one and chain one. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch. So insert your hook in the very first and make the first single crochet. Don't forget your stitch marker. Then reinsert your hook and make the second single crochet. Great job. Now increase in the next stitch. Perfect. Repeat that 4 more times and I'll meet you at the end. Great job, everyone. You should now have 12 stitches and finish the round with a slip stitch to the first and chain one. Round 3, we're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase all the way around. So insert your hook into the very first stitch and make a single crochet. Put your stitch marker in it. Now we're going to increase in the next one. 1 and 2. And now make 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Perfect, and now increase in the next. Repeat that 4 more times, ending with an increase in the very last stitch, joining to the first with a slip stitch and chaining 1, and I'll meet you there. Perfect, you should have made 18 stitches, so do a quick count and then we'll start the next round. Time for round 4. This round is going to be very similar to the hood. We're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, triple increase. So make 1 single crochet in each of the first 2 stitches. There's 1. And 2. Now increase in the next stitch. And now we're going to make a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Perfect, and now it's time for the triple increase. We're going to make 3 single crochets into this stitch. There's the first one, and now I'm going to reinsert my hook and make the second one. Perfect, and now I'm going to reinsert and make the last one. Awesome. Now we're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. Alrighty, I just did the first single crochet, increase, and now I'm going to do that again. And now we're going to single crochet, triple increase. And now it's time for another triple increase. So there's my first single crochet. And there's the second. And there's the last one. To finish this round, we're going to single crochet, and increase in the very last stitch. Great job! You should have 26 stitches in this round, and as always, slip stitch to the first and chain 1 to finish the round. Round 5. This round is going to create the hollow/outline for the eye, so we're going to single crochet in each of the first 9 stitches before making some double crochets. But let's make our 9 single crochets first. There's the first, and don't forget your stitch marker. Now we need to make 8 more single crochets. I'm going to speed it up, but feel free to slow it down if you need to. Alrighty, so I just finished making the 9 single crochets, and now we're going to make a double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches in the back loop only, or the loop farther away from you. So let's learn how to make a double crochet. We're going to start by yarning over, then insert your hook into the back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, and pull it back through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. yarn over and pull it through the first 2 loops, yarn over again and pull it through the final 2 loops. And there's our first double crochet. Now we need to do that again in the next stitch. So yarn over first, then insert your hook into the next back loop, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over again and pull through both loops. Great job. Now we're going to single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. So let's go ahead and do those. And now we need to make a double crochet in the back loop of each of the next 2 stitches. So yarn over first, insert your hook into the next back loop, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over again and pull through the last 2 loops. And 1 more double crochet in the next back loop. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Whew, great job. Now we're going to finish this round by making a single crochet in the rest of the stitches. So you're going to make 10 single crochets. I'm going to do it off camera and then I'll meet you to finish it up. So right now I'm making the last slip stitch in chain 1 to finish the round, and you should now have 26 stitches, and then we'll get started on round 6. We're going to finish making the hollow / outline for the eyes with this round. We're going to begin by making 1 single crochet in each of the next 9 stitches. So go ahead and make 9 single crochets, and then I'll meet you for the next step. Now we're going to make 3 single crochets in the front loops only, or the loop closer to you. So let's make our first one. Now we're going to make 3 single crochets in the front loop only, or the loop closer to you. So let's make the first one. Perfect, and now the second. And 1 more single crochet in the next front loop. Now make 1 normal single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Go under both loops this time. There's the first, and now 1 more. And now we're going to make 3 single crochets in the front loop only again. Perfect, and now finish the round by making normal single crochets in the rest of the stitches. So you're going to make 9 single crochets. At the end of the round, you should still have 26 stitches, and make sure to finish with a slip stitch in chain 1, and I'll meet you for the next round. Here's how it's looking right now with the cool eye sockets that we've just made. Round 7. We're going to start with a single crochet in the first stitch, so go ahead and do that. And don't forget your stitch marker. Now we're going to single crochet, decrease, repeated 6 times, and then 1 single crochet in the very last stitch. So let's make our next 2 single crochets. And now we're going to decrease. So insert your hook under the first front loop, and then insert your hook under the next front loop, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over and pull through both loops. Now continue to make 2 single crochets and a decrease all the way around. You need to do it 5 more times. And like I said, you're going to make 1 single crochet in the very last stitch. So I'm going to do that off camera and then I'll meet you for the final stitch. Awesome, and so I'm making my single crochet in the very last stitch. You should now have 20 stitches. When you're done, make your slip stitch and chain 1, and then we'll move on. Round 8. We're going to make the teeth in this round, and we'll just walk through it stitch by stitch together. So start by making a single crochet in the very first stitch. And now make a single crochet in the next stitch. Now we're going to decrease. Perfect. And now make a single crochet into the next stitch. And now we need to make another decrease. Awesome. Now make a single crochet in the next one. We're so close to the teeth. Make a single crochet in the next one. And now it's time to make our first tooth. Before we start, you need to grab a stitch marker and place it in the back loop of the next stitch. In the front loop, we're going to slip stitch, chain 3, and slip stitch back into it. So let's make our first one. Make the slip stitch in the front loop. Great job. And now chain 3. And now insert the hook back into the front loop and make another slip stitch. Great job, everyone. Now we need to repeat that 2 more times. Slip stitch into the next front loop, chain 3, and slip stitch back into the front loop. Perfect, and 1 more time. Slip stitch into the next front loop, chain 3, and slip stitch back into it. Great job, everyone. Now we're going to make a single crochet in the next stitch, going under both loops like normal. Now we're going to single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease. Great job, and finish the round with a single crochet in the very last stitch. These stitches are obviously harder to count, but ignoring the teeth and counting the back loops that we didn't work into instead, you should have 16 stitches. When you're done, slip stitch to the first and chain 1. And now we're going to insert the eyes. Before we start, place the stitch marker in the loop where your hook is, so that way the project doesn't accidentally unravel while we're doing it. So you should have 2 eyes and 2 backings for them. We're going to insert them between the double crochets that we made. They should be easy to find because the double crochets are taller than the single crochets. So just place them in there right in between. And when you're ready, take the backing and place it on the back. Use a bit of pressure. You should feel it kind of snap in or pop into place. And then repeat for the second eye. Place it right between the double crochets and secure it with the backing. Great job, everyone. Now you can reinsert the hook and remove the stitch marker from the loop, and we'll start the next round. Now it's time for the last round. For this round, we're going to decrease, decrease, decrease all the way around. We'll make a total of 8 decreases. So let's make our first one. Insert your hook into the first front loop, then insert it into the next front loop, yarn over and pull it through, then yarn over and pull through both loops. Now make 2 more decreases, and then I'll meet you for the decreases around the teeth because it's going to be a little different. So this is going to be a little bit different, but just as easy. Insert your hook into the front loop of the next stitch. Then insert your hook into the back loop where we put the stitch marker, so just right behind the first tooth. And now you can remove the stitch marker and get it out of the way. And now finish the decrease like normal. Yarn over and pull it through. Then yarn over and pull through both loops. Perfect. Now we're going to decrease in these next 2 back loops a little differently. Insert your hook into the first back loop, and then yarn over and pull it through. Then insert your hook into the next back loop, yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to pull the first loop through the last 2 loops. And now we need to make 3 more decreases. It can be kind of tricky to figure out which is the next stitch, so start at the end and count to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those are the next 2 stitches to make your decrease in, so I'm going to speed it up but make 3 more decreases and I'll meet you at the end. Alrighty, so I just finished my last decrease, and as always, we're going to slip stitch to the first one and then chain 1. And then grab some scissors and we'll cut the yarn. We want to have a nice long tail that we're going to use to close the circle and then attach the head to the robe/body later. So there we go. Now just lift your hook up until the end of the yarn is pulled through the chain and then give it a good tug to fully secure it. Grab your stuffing and we'll stuff the head. Do it the same way you did the body. Start at the bottom and then stuff it around the walls and then down in the middle. Do some checks to make sure it's evenly distributed from the outside and make sure you're not overstuffing it. When you're done, do the squeeze test to make sure it stays in the right shape. Now we're going to close this hole the same way we closed the bottom of the body. Grab your tapestry needle and bring the end through the hole. Now we're going to insert the needle through the front loop of all 8 stitches. There we go. Now the fun part. Pull the yarn until the hole is all closed up. Perfect. You did it and it looks so cute. Great job, everyone. And now to finish this, all we're going to do is insert our needle down into a nearby stitch and back out on the other side of the circle. And that's all we're doing. We're going to leave this tail to attach the head to the body later. So set this aside, and in the next video, we'll crochet all of the smaller parts. Let's keep going with the purple yarn and make the sleeves now. We need to begin by making a magic ring. So bring the tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm with your ring finger and pinky. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb. And then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and repinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring. Then twist towards you and up and chain 1. Now we want to make 4 single crochets into the ring. Once you've made 4, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, we'll slip stitch the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. But obviously these stitches are pretty far apart, so insert your hook into the first stitch and then pull the yarn nice and tight to help bring the stitches together. Then you can yarn over and finish the slip stitch as normal. Great job, and then chain 1 and we'll start the next round. Now for round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around. So let's make our first one. There's the first single crochet. And there's the second, and our first increase is done. Now make 3 more increases and I'll meet you at the end. Awesome, so you should have made 8 single crochets total, and as always, slip stitch and chain 1 to finish it. For rounds 3, 4, and 5, so 3 rounds total, all we're going to do is single crochet a round. Super easy. I'll get this round started with you, but then I'll just do a little check-in at the end of each round so you can see how it looks round by round. So there's round 3. Now single crochet all the way around again. Here's round 4. 1 more round of single crochet all the way around. And here's our final round, round 5. As always, we're slip stitching and chaining 1. And now we'll cut the yarn. You want to have a nice long tail that we're going to use to attach the sleeves to the body later. Then pull it through and tug the yarn to tighten the knot. Now make 1 more sleeve before we move on to the next section. Now we're going to make the hands. So keep your natural colored yarn out and let's get started. We need to start by making a slip knot. So take the end of the yarn in your right hand and leave a little bit of a tail. Now wrap it around your pointer finger of your left hand and make a loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail in working yarn until it tightens and you have your slip knot. Now you can insert your hook and gently tighten it until it fits nicely around your hook without being too tight. Now we need to chain 5, so go ahead and make your 5 chains. These hands are super easy. Start by turning the chain over so that we're looking at the back bumps, all of these little dashes. We're going to skip the very first chain and then make 1 single crochet into every back bump. So you'll make 4 single crochets total. So let's insert our hook into the second chain and make our first single crochet. Perfect. Now make 1 single crochet into the next 3 chains. And that's it. To finish it up, we're going to chain 1 and then cut the yarn. Leave a long tail that we'll use to sew this on later, and then use your hook to pull the end of the tail through the chain 1, then give the tail a tug to tighten the knot. Now make 1 more hand and then we'll move on to the next part. Now we're going to make his book. So grab your blue and white yarns and let's get started. We're going to make the outside of the book first, so we'll start with the blue yarn. This is made with 4 rows and we need to begin by making a slip knot. Then when you're ready, chain 4. There we go, and we're going to be working into the back bumps again, so turn the chain over. For row 1, we're going to skip the first chain and make 1 single crochet in the next 3 chains. So let's make our first single crochet in the second chain from your hook. Now make 2 more single crochets. When you're done, chain 1 and turn your work. And row 2. All we're doing is making a single crochet in every stitch. So make 3 single crochets again, and I'll meet you at the end. Place a stitch marker in the first stitch if you need to help you out later. Fantastic. Go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. For row 3, we're going to single crochet in every stitch, but this time in the front loops only, the loop that's closer to you. So there's my first one. Now make 2 more single crochets in the front loops only. Great job. Finish by chaining 1 and turning your work. Row 4, our last row, all we're doing is working 1 single crochet in every stitch, going under both loops like normal. So make your 3 single crochets. And now we're going to fasten off. So chain 1 and then grab your scissors and cut the yarn, leaving a long tail that we'll use to even out the edges and attach the book pages. Then pull it through and tug the yarn to tighten the knot. Now you can set this aside and we're going to make the book pages. So grab your white yarn and we'll get started. We're only going to need to make 2 rows for this, and we need to start by making a slip knot. When you're ready, then go ahead and chain 3. We're going to skip the first chain and we're going to single crochet in the next and last stitch. So go ahead and make the first single crochet. Place a stitch marker in there if you need to. Now make a single crochet in the last chain. When you're ready, chain 1 and turn your work. Row 2, which is the final row, we're going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch again, but in the front loops only. Now we need to fasten off. So chain 1 and cut your yarn, leaving a long tail that we'll use to even out these edges. Pull the tail through and tighten the knot. Great job. Now you can set this aside and we'll finish it up later. Now we're going to make the horns. So grab your gray yarn and we'll get started. We need to start by making a slip knot again. Great job. Now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to work in the back bumps. So turn your chain over. To make the horns, we're going to skip the first chain, and in the second chain, we'll make a slip stitch. And then in the last chain, we'll make a half double crochet. Start by yarning over, then insert your hook into the loop, yarn over, and pull it through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Finish by yarning over again and pulling through all 3 loops. And that's it. Now we need to fasten off. So chain 1, and then grab your scissors to cut the yarn. Leave a long tail that we'll use to sew this. Then use your hook to pull it through and give it a tug to tighten and secure the knot. Now make 1 more horn and then we'll move on to the next accessory. Now we're going to make the scepter. So grab your brown and red yarn and let's get started. We're going to start with the stick, so we need the brown yarn. We need to make a slip knot to begin. Great job. And now we need to chain 6. Perfect. This is super easy. Start by turning the chain over so that we're looking at the back bumps. We're going to skip the first chain and then work one single crochet into every chain. So let's insert the hook into the second chain and make a single crochet. Great job, and go ahead and insert your stitch marker into it. Now make 4 more single crochets and then we'll start the next row. Row 2, we need to start by chaining 1 and then turn your work. And we're going to do the exact same thing as the last row. Work 1 single crochet into every stitch across. Great job. You should still have 5 single crochets. Once you're done, we're going to fasten off. So chain 1 and then cut your yarn, leaving a long tail that we'll use to sew this into a tube shape. Then pull the tail through and tighten it to secure the knot. And we'll sew it into a tube shape later, but set that aside for now and grab your red yarn and we'll make the top sphere. We need to begin by making a magic ring. So bring the tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm with your ring finger and pinky. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb. And then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and re-pinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring, twisting towards you and up, and chain 1. Now we want to make 6 single crochets into the ring. Once you've made 6, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, slip stitch to the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. Round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around. So let's insert our hook into the first stitch and make our first increase. Perfect, and now continue making an increase in every stitch. I'm going to speed it up, but feel free to slow it down if you need to. Great job, you should now have 12 stitches, and when you're done, finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. Round 3, easy peasy round. We're going to make 1 single crochet in every stitch. So I'll speed this up and meet you at the end. Fantastic, you should still have 12 stitches and finished with a slip stitch and chain 1. Round 4, our last round. We're going to decrease in every stitch around. So there's my first decrease, and now you need to make 5 more decreases. Great job! When you're finished, you should have 6 stitches. And real quick, you can stuff the tail from the magic ring into the sphere to get it out of the way. And then end the round with a slip stitch and chain 1, and then we're going to fasten off. Make sure you leave a long tail that we're going to use to close this hole, as well as attach this to the stick later. Pull the yarn through the chain 1 and tug it to tighten the knot, then grab your needle so we can close the hole. To close the hole, we're going to insert our needle into the front loop of all 6 stitches. So find the first stitch. You might have to kind of shimmy the knot to the side to find it. Then insert it under the front loop only, going from the outside to the inside or away from you. Now insert your needle under the front loop of the next one and keep going through all 6. Pull the yarn, and like magic, the hole is going to tighten and close up. Like I said, we're going to use this tail to sew later, so to finish this, all we're going to do is insert it down into a nearby stitch and bring it out on the other side of the circle. And now all of the crocheting is done, and this is a great stopping point before we start all of the sewing in the next part. But great job, everybody! We're going to begin by sewing the hood and body together. Start by threading this end where we fastened off. Then make sure the seams are lined up in the back. You should see a line of dashes from our slip stitches. Make sure the triple increases are on the side, giving it that wide oval shape. Insert the needle through the hood, going down into the front of the body. Skip a few stitches and bring it back up through the body and the hood. Then do that again. Skip a stitch on the hood, insert it down through the hood into the middle of the body, and then bring it back out through the back of the body. You're going to see me adjust it a few times. There's not a super easy or clear way to do this. We just want to get it pinned down onto the body. So I'm going down into the middle of the body right now, and then I'll bring my needle out on the other side of the row in the back. Awesome, and then make sure the seams are still lined up in the back, and then we want to bring it back into the hood. Find the spot on the hood that touches the body. We want to make sure that this doesn't get warped. Then insert your needle and bring it back into the hood. Do that one more time. Go through the hood down into the body, skip a few stitches, and come back out going from the middle to the front this time. It's still a little wobbly, so we're going to use our other end, and instead of going back to front, we'll go side to side with this one. So play around with it and figure out where it would look best pinned down. Once you've figured out where you want it to be, use your needle and weave the yarn down through some stitches to get it to that point. And then you can insert your needle down into the hood, into the body, and then go sideways across it. Skip some stitches, bringing it back out through the body and hood. And then repeat that one more time just to really secure it. Go down through the hood into the body and go sideways, coming out a few stitches over. And if you can, bring it out where your other end is and we'll knot them together. If not, repeat one more time and bring it out where your other end is. Great job! Now we're going to make a double knot with those ends and then we'll hide them inside the body. Once you have them hidden away, then that's it. Great job, everybody. Let's start the next part. Grab your black yarn and we'll embroider the nose. We want to find 3 points that form an upside down V, with the pointy part of it right between the eyes. Insert your needle through the side of the head and bring it out through one of the bottom points of the V. Now insert it into the top point of the V, bringing it out through the other side of the bottom of the V. Then reinsert back into the top point of the V to complete the nose, bringing it out where your other end is. So cute, great job guys. Now you can take your scissors and trim the excess, and then we're going to make a double knot and hide them inside the head. Great job everyone. Once you're done, grab your hood and body again for the next part. Begin by threading the white yarn from the head and we'll get that sewn in. This is an optional step and you can skip this if you want your head to stay removable. Once you're ready, we're going to go sideways through the body again, go down through the hood into the body, skip a few stitches, and bring it back out. Then grab your head and we're going to go sideways across that, just going in the opposite direction of how it went through the body. Then pull the yarn nice and tight and bring the head and body together. Check it out and make sure you like how it looks before we finish it. To finish, all we're going to do is insert the needle down through the hood and bring it out on the bottom of the body. And then we'll weave the yarn in and out of the body a few times to really secure it. Once you've done it a few times, then you can trim the yarn and hide it away inside the body. And there it is, all finished. Great job, everyone. Let's move on to the next part. Grab your horns now and we'll sew them into a cone shape. Thread the longer end first. Insert your needle into the bottom stitch of the other side and pull it through. Then insert it into the bottom stitch of the first side and pull it all the way through. Then insert it into the top stitch of the other side and pull it all the way through. And then insert it into the top stitch of the first side and pull it all the way through. Now go through and tighten all of these loops. It's going to be hard to just pull it and do it. You'll have to go loop by loop to tighten it up. Great job, we're so close. Now we want to bring this end down to the bottom where the other end is. So find a loop to insert it into and bring it back down to the bottom. Pull it tight enough to give it a little curve without it folding in half. And that's our horn. Do that with your other horn, and then we'll sew them on. Grab 2 stitch markers, and we're going to mark where the horns go first. We want them to be placed between rounds 8 and 9, so start at the circle and find rounds 8 and 9. And we want them to be about 5 stitches apart, so insert the first stitch marker a little off to the side. Make sure you like how that looks, and then we're going to count 5 stitches and insert the other stitch marker there. So count 5 of the little V's, and then insert the second stitch marker to make sure you like the placement. Once you're happy, we're going to thread the shorter end of the horn and insert the needle going side to side right where we placed the stitch marker. Then thread the long end and do the same thing, just going in the opposite direction this time. Just like that, easy peasy. And now we'll make a double knot with these ends and hide them away. I'm just going to hide them on the inside of the hood, but you can insert it into the head to fully hide them if you want. Super cute, super easy. Repeat that for the other horn, and then we'll move on to the next part. We're going to sew the hands into the sleeves now. Start by threading the magic ring end of the sleeve, the one that's coming out from the center. Insert your needle into the top stitch on each side of the hand now. Just like that, and then pull it through. And then we're going to insert the needle back into the sleeve, bringing it out right between rounds 1 and 2. And then pull that all the way through. Now we're going to trim the white ends and hide them. And now we want to hide this other purple end. So find a loop on the inside to insert your needle into. Pull that through, trim it, and then tuck it away on the inside of the sleeve. And that's it. Repeat all of that for your other hand and sleeve, and then we'll sew them onto the body. Thread the sleeves end, and then we want to figure out where to put them on the body. We want him to be kind of reaching out a little bit, so go sideways. Once you're happy with how it looks, insert your needle down into the body, go past a couple rows, and bring it back out and pull it all the way through. Then insert the needle back into the sleeve between rounds 1 and 2, going from one side to the other, pulling it all the way through. Then, once you're ready, insert the needle back into the stitch where the yarn's coming out of. It's kind of hard for me to show that. And then bring it back out through a random spot on the back. And then we'll leave that alone for now and move on to the second arm. Attach it the same way and bring your end out in the same spot. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet you to finish up. Great job, everyone. We're going to finish this by making a double knot with these ends, trimming the excess, and then hiding it away inside the body. Now grab your brown rectangle and we'll sew it into a stick. We're going to weave back and forth going through the stitches on each side. So go through the bottom stitch on the side where your end isn't coming from, and then insert it into the stitch on the bottom where your end is coming from. And now going the opposite direction, starting on the first side, going into the second side. And again, going from the second side to the first side. And just continue working your way up, matching up the stitches and sewing the sides together. So I'm finishing the last one now, and I'm just going to go back through the stitches again, going in the same direction as I did before. And that's it. Now grab your sphere and we'll sew them together to make the scepter. Thread the scepter end first, and then insert it into a stitch on the stick and pull it all the way through. Then insert the needle back into the sphere next to where your end's coming from, and back out on the other side of the stitch. Pull it through and just keep repeating that. Insert it back into the stick, going through a stitch. Then go back into the sphere, but we'll go past 2 stitches this time. And then back into the stick, going in and out of a stitch. I did this a little weird, so I'm fixing it, but I just went through 1 stitch of the stick. Then go in and out of the sphere again. Now go through a stitch of the stick again, but bring it up through the sphere, and we're going to hide the end now. I'm zhuzhing it a little bit, and then I'm going to trim this end and hide it inside the sphere. And then if you have a super long brown end, you can trim it but still leave a couple inches, and next we'll attach this to his hand. Slide his hand out so we can see the stitches, and then insert your needle going from bottom to top through a couple loops. And then we want to insert both of these ends and get them through those stitches. There we go, pulling it through, and then we're going to insert the needle back into the stick and hide these ends. Pull them nice and tight, and then we're going to double knot them, trim it, and hide it. Great job! Now grab your books and we'll work on that next. We're going to even out the edges of the book now. Arrange it so the side with these dashes is in the back. And we're going to start by threading the shorter end. Find some loops on the edge of the book, insert your needle through those, and pull it through. Now we want to hide this end in the middle. Find some loops that'll lead to the middle. It doesn't have to be pretty. The pages are going to hide this. We just want to get it secured so that it'll stay hidden. I have this in the middle now, so I'll trim it and then we'll finish evening out the edges. Thread your long end now, and we'll do it the same way. Find some loops right along the edge to insert your needle into, and pull it all the way through. Perfect, and now we want it to be in the middle on top, so find another loop to insert into and make your way back to the middle. And we'll use this end later to secure the page to the book, but let's go ahead and do the same thing for the pages. We're going to even out the edges and then bring the ends to the center and cut them. And then one more time, even out the last edge, then bring it to the center so it can be hidden. Arrange the pages in the center of the book, and then thread your navy end. Insert it into a loop right above it, right in the center, and pull it through. Adjust it so the line and pages are centered. And then insert it into a loop in the middle on the other side. And there we go. So easy, so cute, and next we'll sew it onto his hand. We want to weave this end from the bottom to the side so that we can attach it to the hand. Find some loops to weave through and make your way over to the side. Perfect. Now pull the hand just a little bit so we can see the stitches, and you want to find 2 loops to insert your needle into, going from bottom to top. And then pull it through nice and tight. Perfect, and now we're going to secure this. So insert your needle into a loop on the edge of the book, but don't pull it all the way through. Leave a little hole. Insert the needle into that hole and pull the end through, and we'll make a knot. There we go, and if it feels loose, then re-tighten it. Just keep pulling the yarn until the knot is really nice and tight. And now all we have to do is hide the end behind the pages. So find some loops to insert your needle into and bring it through. Then you can trim it and tuck it behind the pages. And Hollow the Necromancer is all finished. Thanks so much for joining me to make this. I really hope you love yours as much as I love mine, and I'll see you next time. Bye!